All right, thank you guys so much for joining us here at the Jamaica Observer for what we deem as a very important discussion on mental health. Now, October 10th is celebrated worldwide as World Mental Health Day, and today we have a group of panelists, and we'll start with their introduction. Starting with Nikisha, to my far right. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am Nikisha Harris. I am a clinical psychologist with the National Council on Drug Abuse Department of the Ministry of Health. I basically see substance use clients as well as clients who have other types of disorders. And I am also a tutor at the University of the West Indies. I tutor psychology, and I'm currently the Miss Health and Wellness winner.
Everyone, my name is Kayvon Lewis. I am a law student at the University of West Indies, Mona. I am, a youth advocate or leader. I served previously as the national president for the National Secondary Students Council of Jamaica. And currently, I am the Publications Committee chairperson for the LCLRNA Hall.
Hi everyone, I'm Natalia Burton. I'm a final year social work student at the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, and I'm also a youth advocate. I work closely with UNICEF and the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, where recently we have partnered to launch a youth-led movement called Fix My Food, which is a youth-led movement that advocates for healthier food environments for all Jamaican young people. So I just dedicate my life to advocacy and service, and it's something that I really love to do.
Thank you guys. And they're young, but they're very educated and very experienced. So, to delve right into the discussion, I guess we can start with the psychologist on the panel. What I'd like to do is to differentiate or to establish what is mental health and the difference between mental health and mental illness.
So mental health encapsulates different categories, right? So if you have good mental health, it means that you have good physical, mental, emotional, as well as spiritual health.
Correct, yeah.
Right? Now, when it comes to mental illness, there is some sort of deficiency in one of these areas. So for example, your emotions, your cognitive functioning, these are the things. So if there's an issue in one of these areas, it could lead to a mental illness.
But one of the things that we want to tackle in this discussion today is the stigma that surrounds mental health in Jamaica. Kayvon, in your opinion, why do you think this stigma exists?
Well, personally, I think this stigma exists in Jamaica, particularly because of, various reasons that are interconnected. You have cultural reasons, social reasons, and also spiritual reasons. On the cultural side, you have to think about the gender stereotypes or just what is, the norm in Jamaica. Things such as, the parents tell the child that you don't necessarily show sign of weakness or air out a dirty laundry to the public or etc. because, it's essentially teaching you that you need to keep things inside, keep things, within a certain space rather than, go out and, seek help when necessary. On the social scale, it is also a case where mental health literacy is not something that is widespread across Jamaica. Some persons, as you said, might not understand the true definition of what mental illness is versus mental health, and also don't understand the difference between stress versus, being just, overwhelmed. Don't understand the difference between, some people use the word crash out nowadays because, it's also a thing where young people develop when they just feel, a sense of overwhelm. But they don't understand that it goes deeper because you have a level of distress that goes far beyond just, having a simple crash out that a lot of persons don't know how to handle on their own, don't know how to, go about their daily lives. And just that stigma that surrounds how persons go about, asking for help. I mentioned gender stereotype earlier when I said that men in society are seen or should be seen as, personifying a strong figure. So when you see a man, I recently saw a whole debate online. And it has been a debate continuously over the years whether a man should cry or just express.
All of your stress.
Right. So that's just certain things within the societal sphere that also allows or contributes to why there's a stigma that exists. And also, to just end my point, it's just general thing where persons are just not fully educated at the different levels of mental health.
And as young persons, we do struggle, finding our purpose in what we want to do in life, as well as dealing with other issues, whether it's family issues and stuff like that. Natalia, tell me, what are some of the things that young people face that could contribute to significantly impacting their mental health?
Well, yeah, I definitely want to piggyback off Kayvan's point with a statistic that struck me recently. I think I was on the JCF's page, and they dropped the statistic saying that 85 out of every 100 persons, that commit suicide are men. And I think I thought about why that is. And I think it stems to general childhood teachings that children should be seen and not heard, and the fact that kids really have it easy. So usually when you tell your mommy or your daddy, oh, I feel sad, I feel depressed, you're like, depressed what? You have roof over your head, you have clothes on your back, why would you be depressed?
Right.
So I think those are some of the struggles, just from a very early age, being told that, you have it easy, maybe your feelings aren't valid. I think a lot of people carry that with them into adolescence and adulthood. And I think, it makes those conversations harder when you have been told to repress certain things, even more so for men. So yeah, when you've been told to repress things your entire life, it is hard to have a lot of those conversations. I know something that a lot of people relate to is academic stress. You mentioned like not knowing what you want to do, the future that you want to really pursue. I think that a lot of people in school, they have the stress and the pressure from parents, and even sometimes internal pressure to perform and to be good at everything, to have good grades, and to have it all figured out. I think personally the concept of young people in like 9th grade choosing their subjects, which essentially sets the trajectory for their entire career path and life. I think that's such a young age to ask a child to be like, oh, so, these subjects are going to set you up for life, and, you're kind of locked in a sense. So I feel like a lot of people have pressure with just identity. Maybe some people aren't good at math. I was never good at math.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. So a lot of that, makes you feel a bit insecure because, you're told that you're supposed to be good at everything. You're supposed to get good grades at everything. So there's a really strong pressure, especially when it comes to exit exams. So I definitely think a lot of people have the pressure of failure, of letting relatives and loved ones down. And that can really take a toll on one's mental health.
And not only academic pressure, but you also have to balance with extracurricular activities or other stuff that would advance, you as a young person. But Kevin, going back to what you mentioned about men in our society, what are some of the things we can do more as people to kind of eradicate that kind of rhetoric where we tell men, hold up your stress, deal with what your problems differently, or don't cry. What do you think we can do as Jamaicans to get rid of that rhetoric?
I mean, I personally think that we probably just need to have more open conversation and just realize that mental health isn't just based on a particular gender. It affects everyone, whether you're male or female. So create an environment, create a space where men can feel free to express themselves, express their issues that they're having personally, because as men, you have a weight or responsibility on your back. You have to be the breadwinner of the house and everything like that. So when things are not going according to how you want it to go in life, and you're not at a level of success that you want to as a man in society, there's certain things that kind of weigh on your mindset, and it kind of contributes to why you don't feel as if you are at a level in life overall where you can feel stable in relations to your finance, feel stable as it relates to providing for your family, or all of that essentially contributes to why men don't necessarily feel like they have that space or that environment to express themselves. So I feel like as a society, as a collective, as people overall, we need to create more environment, create more spaces where men can feel like it isn't a taboo thing to just express your feelings. It's not a taboo thing to just cry and express that, okay, I'm going through this right now and I feel like I need to just have a conversation with somebody. Just provide a listing here essentially. I know from like my personal experience with like my father, for example, he, based on like my conversations with him, he expressed to me that he's, based on like how he grew up, how his family situation was back in, when he was younger, he didn't necessarily have that, person in his life where he could go and, express that, just anything that is happening with him, on a personal level. So that kind of contributes to the type of parent that he became in the future. So I think a lot of the generational norms and everything like that contribute to why, men act the way they do in today's society, how they parent, how they go about handling just regular daily lives situation, how they interact with women in society, how they treat women in society, how they respond to their own peers or them brethren or anything like that. All of those, contribute to mental health, because if they don't feel like there's an avenue in which they can, express themselves, express their emotions, then that also leads to why certain men retaliate the way they do in society, why they build up anger issues, why there's a high rise of violence and everything like that. So all of that could be squashed if they have that avenue and, more environment or more things are put in place where men can feel open and free to have those conversations.
To speak on, your relationship with the father, a lot of men in Jamaica do not have that kind of relationship with their father. Do you think that significantly impacts, like the absence of a father in the home significantly contributes to men?
It does. I feel like it's a very topical issue in Jamaica when you don't have that stern, not necessarily stern, but that father figure in the home. It contributes to why young men nowadays turn to certain like substance abuse and etc. Just different ill behaviors in society. Personally, for me, while my father was not physically present, meaning like he migrates and lives overseas, he was there and provided other support. You always call and check in and all those stuff. So that actually contributed to who I am today. Because at the end of the day, while I did not receive the physical support that I would have wanted, I did receive the emotional support, the motivation, and just overall support throughout high school, financially and etc. So the fact that I had a father, while, as I said, was not there physically, I still had somebody present in my life that contributed to why I am where I'm at today. And I feel like when I reflect on life and how certain things, happen and, how it could turn out, I feel like he played a very crucial role in just helping me to become the man that I am today. And there's a lot of instances where if you check the statistics and you look at somebody or a young person based on their behavioral patterns and etc., and you actually look at as you said before, when you actually try to assess their family background and then just their living situation, realize that a lot of the reasons is because they don't have that father figure present in their life. And sometimes they have the father present in their life, but they don't act as a role model to say, do this thing, do the right thing, because as I said before, they essentially, their parental patterns or how they decide to do parenting is based on what they went through when they were, younger. So whatever they're doing now is as a result of the generation one.
Right.
So,
Nikisha, you're a clinical psychologist, so you've perhaps had one-on-one experience with persons who suffer mental health. What are some of the similarities that you find among these people? Like,
If we're talking specifically about young people, one of the things that I've noticed is that, one, everyone is afraid to talk about what's happening with them, right? And this fear stems from this feeling of no one is going to understand what's happening with me. So one, they are afraid to talk with their parents about what's happening, which tells me there is a breakdown in communication.
Why do you think that is though? Because personally, I never spoke to my mom. And I'm sure many of you can. I don't know if you can relate, but I
relate.
Well, I don't have that. It's not that my mom is not someone I can speak to,
Right.
but I just don't feel like it would solve anything if I spoke to her.
I think it's something that has to be cultivated from an early age. So there should be a level of openness from an early age. So for example, my mother, I know parents usually say that, your mother is not your friend. My mother is like my best friend. I could tell her anything that's happening with me because that relationship was cultivated at a very early age. So we would have discussions about very deep things from early on, and she would let me know, I am here for you. No pressure at all. She always told me, whatever you're doing, just do your best. Your best is all that's required of you. And so one thing that really helps young people these days is knowing that they are being listened to, which is not necessarily the culture in Jamaica. We have a more do what I say type culture rather than, okay, let me hear what your perspective is, and then we're going to make a decision based on both sides. I'm not telling parents, don't be parents, but sometimes children really feel like they cannot voice how they are feeling. And so even when I have parent sessions sometimes, it's almost like I have to train or give tips on how to go about, give parents tips on how to go about dealing with their children, communicating with them so that they feel heard rather than just told. Because there are young people today who feel invisible in their homes. They don't feel like their parents have the time to actually listen to what they have to say. And so that needs to be cultivated.
And that goes to what Kevin said, it's a parenting style. So what are some parenting styles that you can recommend for parents that are watching, perhaps?
Well, I would say, one, ask questions and also be attentive, right? So one thing I've noticed is that even though a child doesn't say with their mouth what is happening, their behavior usually says a lot. Your body language, your facial expressions, these things tell a story. So if you know your child bubbly, always making jokes, all of a sudden they quiet, not coming out of their room, ask a question. Let them know if there's something you're going through, I'm here to listen to you. I want to know what's happening. And so it might not be a fancy parenting style, but I think being present is one of the most important things a parent could do for their child. Be present for your child and be available for your child.
And I also think that it is very important to refrain from judgment. So I know a lot of parents have the
I don't think Jamaican parents.
It's controversial, but just hear me out. I think that a lot of people do have the children should be seen and not heard mindset, and your child will tell you something and you're like, but and you're so quick to interject, but as Nikisha was saying, it is so important to listen and not judge. Because the reason a lot of children don't open up fully is because they feel like they already know how you're going to react or what you're going to say. So, it may take a little while. You can even talk with your child and be like, I know I usually jump to conclusions, but I'm working on it. Because nobody is perfect. So I think it's very important that parents cultivate a safe space where their child can say things, and then you pause, you help them to finish, and then you react and you work through things together. So I think a safe, judgment-free space is really important for healthy dialogue between parents and children.
And if the children don't have that space at home, where else can they go to have that space? I mean, schools also have a responsibility to provide that environment as well, don't you think?
Yes, they do. Usually guidance counselors, a lot of children will go to their friends and their peers, and one thing that they also do is turn to social media, and that can be a good thing and it can also be a bad thing, double-edged sword for sure. So, it's best to try to cultivate that relationship with your child, because you don't have full control over how their concerns are received elsewhere. So yeah, when it's with a guidance counselor, they may receive support and professional support where parents may sometimes fall short in terms of knowledge gaps. But, they could feel shut down by other people. So they're like, oh, mommy not listening to me, my friend's not listening to me. So they completely close off, they bottle it up. And that's where we see where we enter a danger zone. Because what a lot of young people do not know is how to cope. So a lot of parents don't know those skills because of generational factors. So they don't teach their children coping skills, healthy coping skills, and how to regulate emotions, for example. So people develop issues, or they simply choose unhealthy coping mechanisms, or they shut down, and that can really lead to development of mental health problems or disorders.
And Nikisha, going back to you being in the industry, for me personally, I have a brother who suffers from mental health or mental illness.
Yeah.
And one of the issues that I had was access to the services that would help him.
Okay.
Explain to me if you see anything wrong with the services or the access to the services that we have here in Jamaica that would assist persons who want assistance with mental health.
So I actually think that the Ministry of Health is doing a good job in trying to make mental health care more accessible to persons. So people can access care, through the clinics. There are clinics in various parishes. People don't know, and I've often have to explain this to people, that the services are free. Like, free counseling is available in all clinics across Jamaica. There's also the You Matter text line where young adults, young persons could text in. It's through SMS, Instagram. You can text in and talk to a trained professional. There's also Safe Spot, which is both a text line as well as a call line for children under the age of 18.
For all of these.
Yeah, so these services are available to children. So if they're afraid to talk with their parents, they can call in, they can text in, and they will be able to talk about what's going on with them.
Okay.
Think about what she said. And you yourself said that you weren't aware of some of these initiatives.
Right, exactly.
So I was, doing some research, and I went on the Ministry of Health website, and I was just scrolling, and then I saw they had a subsection for mental health. So when I went on it, I saw all the programs and initiatives that the Ministry of Health implemented over time, and then I saw that there was a PDF document outlining mental health clinic sessions island-wide. So based on, parish, there's like different hospitals and everything that offers, mental health services or, the sessions. And I was like, why wasn't this like, publicized or, advertised? Like, why isn't it a general thing where young people are fully aware of these programs and initiatives?
Okay. And I guess what are some of the things that you'd recommend for, I guess, the ministry or for the services or the organizations that provide these services? How can they promote them more? What can they do?
I mean, use social media. That's one avenue. A lot of young persons are on social media, so better social media campaigns. And don't just do generic campaigns, because nowadays young people do gravitate towards that, but more campaigns that is tailored towards their interest in a very particular way that, would capture them. Not only social media, but also go, on the grounds, going to the schools, going to the churches, etc., because, those are where the young people are. So you can easily reach them and just educate them on everything that you have. The programs and initiatives are just the support systems that are in place that they can access, because they're not going to go on the slide myself that is with the research. They're not going to go through a whole research thing and go on the website and click this link and that link. So make things, you can just do simple things. It doesn't have to be drastic or anything like that. Just go have community walks. The UNICEF team has, they're about to implement one of their youth programs, the Youth Council. So certain things like that could be an avenue in which you can go into the schools, go into different community spaces, and just engage with the young people and just fully educate them on everything regarding mental health and the support that they have at their, yeah.
Based on what he said, as he mentioned campaigns, so the ministry actually has this campaign called Do Your Share. And the youth aspect of it, they actually have like a mental health check-in where they go into schools. I don't know if you've seen it on social media where the minister would go and there's like the wellness bench.
Yeah, well,
Right. So they go into school, it's a mental health check-in, and they talk with them during like assembly. And then they would have some children from the school who they think, may have certain issues, and they actually bring a counselor along with them where they have sessions with them. And if they believe that, this child might need further intervention, they actually refer that child. So they are slowly trying to spread the information to our youth population.
Okay. Tell me the correlation between nutrition and mental health.
Oh, that's a great question. It is all interconnected, as Nikisha would have said, because if you are not of sound body, you're not of sound mind, vice versa. Your mental health can also affect your physical health. So a lot of the issue that we have is that they do not have access to proper nutrition. Jamaica, as a culture, we are very big on carbs and we're very big on protein.
Enough rice
You
and
have to have your rice and your ground provisions and your but what about the vegetables? What about the nuts? What about everything else that you need, right? And that one of the concerns in schools is whether or not children are able to access those nutrition meals, which is going to help them to grow and to be able to focus more in schools. So a lot of the times it's, the ultra processed foods, the bag of fry. And when having been a student quite recently, I was making my way out of high school during COVID. I really remember the effect that poor nutrition would have on my learning, because I would eat lunch, it would be really unhealthy, and then I would notice that I feel very tired and lethargic. Yeah.
I'm not
Try not to say that.
I know.
Professional setting.
But it usually happens an hour or two after you eat, you fall asleep in class, and that affects a lot of students, especially in high school.
Yeah, so it's the same way how it affects your mood, because that also affects your mood. Sometimes you feel groggy, you feel sleepy. It can also affect your cognition. You can have brain fog, and also when you don't have proper access to certain nutrition and certain nutrients, you will have your body is unable to produce the things that it needs to keep yourself happy. So nutrition really is the gateway to be young people being healthy and happy. If you're not feeding your body, your brain can't be healthy and happy, and then all kind of things are gonna go wrong. So yeah.
And Nikisha, is this a part of your program when you tutor persons who struggle with mental illness? Does nutrition come up in the discussion any at all?
No, if I'm being honest. I tutor abnormal psychology, which means that I mostly talk about disorders.
Okay.
But I do believe that nutrition is important. I believe that, persons should really try their best to eat a balanced diet. I think it's really important for growth, especially for young people. Like, you need the different areas of the food groups in order to grow healthily. So
a young person is out there right now that's struggling and that's watching, what can they do?
Yeah, I think one of the most beneficial and vulnerable things you can do is reach out. You may feel like you are the only person going through whatever you're going through, but I'll be the first to tell you that is not the case. Even if you are experiencing the most niche of problems, there is at least one other person on this earth that has been through what you have been through, and they've come through the other side of it. They're able to provide help and support, including a lot of professionals. They see a lot of clients. So usually you may feel alone, or you may feel like you're the only person in your household or your community, but they will be able to understand from their studies and other clients, and they'll be able to provide you with a wide range of support to get through this. Because I know one of the things that gets people is the feeling of hopelessness. And that is something that we want to avoid at all costs. So when you speak to people and when you find out that there's a community of other people that are experiencing this. So if you have depression, there are a lot of other young people in Jamaica that have depression, anxiety. You name it, there are other people that have it. So just reach out to a trusted friend, your guidance counselor at school, your parents, or, even if it's to contact you, Mata, and use the free chat line, you can be supported and you can be referred to someone who understands your issues and is able to provide help. The worst thing you can do is keep it to yourself, honestly. So just be vulnerable and share, and someone will help you get through it.
And Kevin, as the only man on this panel, speak to the men that really are struggling, the young men that are struggling. What would you recommend to them, or what do you have to say to them?
I mean, I would say the same thing that Natalie said, is to just seek help and don't be afraid to just speak up. Don't be afraid to be emotional. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Besides from what societal standards are, besides from what certain expectations are of men within society, it's time for us to surpass that and just try to prioritize our mental health at all cost, because we can't function in society. We cannot be the men that they expect us to be if we're not, sound mind, if we don't have, proper mental health. Use the resources that are at your disposal, because there is so many resources at the Ministry of Health and Education, Ministry of Health, UNICEF, and different entities have established a lot of unique and different support that you can use. So create that avenue. You can always, find a friend, talk to your bridging. And also the last thing I would say is to find a coping mechanism that can actually help you with it's a sporting activity, play football, play basketball, whether it's just a skill-based activity as well. For me, it's graphic design. Just do something that you're passionate about that will create that space in which you can, probably not express yourself verbally, but, in your own environment.
Nikisha, your final comments?
They took everything. What am I supposed to say now? All right. So I would say, one, you're not a burden and you're not alone. I know when you're going through something really difficult, it's hard to see anyone helping you or any particular resource helping you. But I'm urging you to reach out today. We have platforms, we have text lines, we have call lines. There's a mental health and suicide prevention helpline. Reach out. We are here and we are available to help and to offer support. So my encouragement, just know that you're not a burden and you're not alone, and that we are here to assist.
The word. We have a lot of support systems and services in place, but that is a last resort. It starts with us checking in on our children, checking in on your parents, checking in on everyone around you, asking them, how are you, but how are you really? And giving them the space to talk. Sitting with your friends, even when they're not fun to be around, just sitting with them through the good times and the bad times can be so important. So I think it's very important to kind of shift the narrative away from last resort or reactive approaches to preventative approaches. Each one of us, we have so much power, and we are able to really improve someone's mood and to help them with their mental health. So I would just say everyone should look out for each other, and we need to bring the aspect of community back to Jamaica.
I think that's such an important point to end on, and community is something that's been lacking recently. So thank you so much for that, Natalia. Kevin, Nikisha, thank you guys so much for being here and engaging in this discussion. Very important discussion.
Thank you for having us.
And just in case, just to emphasize on the helpline, the number for the helpline is 888-639-5433 or 888-663-5683. So you can reach out to those numbers if you are struggling or if you know someone that is struggling. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, stay tuned.